Let's look at this, Lise. When we have a conversation about women, particularly Black women in the Democratic Party, we often say within the community, and I think it can be all I think it can be agreed upon within the party that Black people, particularly Black women, have been serving as the backbone of the party for many, many years. Of course, we know Black people have been a big part of the success for the presidency of Joe Biden, getting him back into the White House and getting the first Black woman vice president into the White House. But now we're seeing the tides are changing. We're seeing something very, very different happening within this relationship. Yesterday, I talked about the fact that you saw a number of Black people that are leaving or losing faith, rather, I would say. I'm not going to say they totally left the Democratic Party, but they're losing faith in the Biden-Harris administration. Now it comes out that Democrats are going to have a very big, dramatic strategy to get women to the polls, particularly Black women. What's your take on this?
I think the Democrats do have a problem with women and just Black people in general, or people of color, trying to get them back to the polls. Well, with women being like, what, 54% of women identify as Democrats, they're going to have a problem. But I think most of it is because they haven't been able to deliver on a lot of the things that women, and particularly Black women, find important. Black women with the student loan debt crisis, Black women go to college more than any other subgroup. That's something they haven't been able to deliver on. And I think that time and time again, Black women come out in big numbers and then they are often disappointed. And I think that's why Democrats are going to have a problem getting women to the poll. Now, with that being said, these polls have been wrong. Like yesterday's weather report, like, it's just, these polls have been all over the place. They're not the most reliable thing. So I wouldn't take too much into account. I think the Democrats, what they have the biggest issue on, especially when it comes to Democrats with African Americans, is the inflation. It's going to be really hard to get people who are already in a bad financial place to re-vote for you when inflation is so high. And I know that it isn't all on them, because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the PPP money came through from the Trump administration. There was a pandemic, but it falls down on whoever's in office at the time. And that is Joe Biden and the Biden administration. So I think they will have a problem.
Iman, when we talk about that problem, particularly for Black women, as a young Black woman, what are some of the big challenges or some of the big issues that you have with how the Democratic Party is moving right now?
Delivering. I want to speak on as far as student loan forgiveness. The conversation was had, young folk rallied behind Biden and his administration when they were pushing they would do student loan debt. But what's happening? Where's the talk about it? Again, where is Kamala? I still even haven't seen her involved in too much changes since they've been in office. So my biggest issue is student loan debt. Where's the forgiveness? Gas is $18 a gallon. My car takes premium gas. I'm crying. My pockets are crying. I need some assistance, please. But it's the student loan forgiveness. It would catapult a lot of us so far, especially financially, as far as with our credit. So not just even as a Black woman, young people, and I'm sure those have graduated who still have debt as well. Where is the student loan forgiveness?
So the student loan forgiveness is one of the big things. Of course, Lisa, you talked about the voting issue. The voting rights issue is another one. And even though the Biden administration did deliver on the childhood tax credit, that I think a lot of people, Lisa, have gained from as a result of that $500-600 per month has helped out a lot of families. I know it. I don't need to go too deep in the polls to recognize it, but I do know that it has helped out families a lot. It's still not enough, it seems, to show that this administration or the Democrats have a healthy chance of winning the midterm elections. Is that what I'm hearing so far?
I think you're exactly right. I think the Democrats have a problem that their base is so large that they have to appease so many different subgroups. The Republicans are great at branding. They all get on the same branding point. They all fall in line. They really have to appease one group: white, straight men. That's it. and they're going to win seats. Whereas Democrats need to really start listening exactly to what their base wants. I think a lot of the times they listen to the fringes of the Democratic Party and not the actual base of what the Democrats want. When you hear Democrats speak, and women in particular, like, we're suffering as far as financial goes. I mentioned the student loan. They have not been able to kind of get that ball rolling and what they're going to do with that. Yes, he's been able to forgive some of it, but it hasn't really benefited Black women who, like I said before, have the highest level of student loans. Also, with a lot of the abortion issues, they're having issues with that. And now the voting rights issues, they can't even get the Equal Rights Act amendment passed. Like, they got it through the Congress, but will it really pass through the Senate to add more time to that? So it's a lot of things that they keep failing for Black women, and Black women show up in big numbers. And that's the reason why a lot of the time, look, Joe Biden got in office because of Black women. Barack Obama was in office because of Black women. We show up time and time again, and they don't listen to exactly what Black women want. And I think that's what the Democrats have a problem with. And they're going to have a problems in the midterm if they do not get this in check with what people really want. And it's not the fringes that should dictate what the Democrats go after.
I think that speaks to why we are seeing this type of data. I want to go to the screen and share with you just some of the latest poll results around this issue. There was a Reuters Ipsos poll that was done. If we could put that on, it showed that Biden's net approval ratings in the negative among all voters, including women, 44% of whom approve of him compared to 48% who disapprove. Then there was a focus group survey in Georgia, Texas, and Michigan conducted by Navigator Research, which is a Democratic aligned polling group, on January 25th, found that Black American support for Biden declined 10 percentage points from 86% to 76% in 2021. Check this out. For Black women between the ages of 18 through 39 surveyed in Texas, 40% say they strongly approve of Biden, and 36% say they somewhat approve of Biden. He's got a real problem. I want to throw another poll out there very quickly, where there was this Morning Consult poll that was released in October, and it found that Biden's approval rating among Black women Democrats was down to 41%, down 30 points since he moved into the White House. That same poll found 42% of Democratic women approved of Biden, compared with 50% of Democratic men. Iman, when you look at these numbers, it just goes to show you that something is inherently wrong. I mean, the president is losing Black supporters, women supporters, Black women supporters by the droves, and he's only been in the White House for 1 year.
I'd say the issue is women being at home, not receiving the help they needed. Stimulus checks, where was that, or where was the idea of it to come back? The markets look empty. I think Black women having to be at home with children, they're not receiving the help that they need. Back and forth with the mandates, back and forth whether the children will be in school, will stay virtual. And again, where is the financial backing? Having to stay home, not having the child care support, not having the resources that we need, that we spoke on in previous episodes. That's the issue. I believe that's why he may be losing support as much, because he's not supporting the Black women. Yes, you can parade around, and it sounds good that we're going to be strong and help those minorities who need help. But now that we've gotten to the grit of it, the thick of it, where are you? Where is the saving grace? Where's the extended hand? Where's the olive branch? It's not there. They don't have the results.
And so because they don't have the results, Iman, we're going to see it. Here's where I'm greatly concerned. This midterm election that will be happening this year will set the tone, I believe, and the precedent for how things move and how things look in 2024. If Black women, or if folks don't come out to vote, or if there is an abstention of voting from vote, an abstinence of vote, right? Then guess what's going to happen? That we might see some people in Congress that we don't want to see. that we might start to get some policies because of there might be, right now there is a slim majority for the Democrat, but that could certainly change this year because of the congressional elections. And we start to see policies that are not going to be in the interest of women or Black women in particular. So it's like a catch-22. You want to, and I think this is a facing all of the Black community. You want to show that your vote count by not voting, or you may feel like, you know what, I'm going to make a statement by not voting. But then on the flip side is, if you don't vote and the other party gets in, we might see some different policy. And I don't know, and I'm going to be honest with you, Lise, I don't know how to reconcile those two realities.
I agree. I think this is always something that we have an issue with in the Black community, and with whether or not we should vote, because I hear this often, like, does my vote really count? Like, I want this and that, and this doesn't seem to change. I'm not seeing any change. And so when people don't vote, they don't realize that it doesn't just impact you on the White House level, it impacts you on the local level. And that's what you really see. So when you are seeing things that aren't changing, it's a lot of it comes on the local level. And I think the Democrats have a problem. They have a branding problem. They do not have a clear message of what Democrats actually stand for. So like I said, Republicans, guns. Okay, great. Go get your guns in your Ford F-250 and we're good. They know what to do. Democrats don't have that. That's why I think the cannabis issue, legalizing cannabis, is what Democrats, getting this inflation down. And by golly, wow, finding out, let's put out a wanted ad. Like you said, let's find Kamala, god darn it. Let's find her. Because we have not,
where are you?
Something, like, let's find her. We had Chucks and Pearls, now we just missing. She's MIA. So
well, you know what? I wouldn't say she MIA. I think Kamala is doing, I mean, look, most vice presidents do behind the scenes work anyway. They are the one, we don't see them. The president is the quote unquote, the spokesperson, the face of the country, or the face of political leadership in the country. So I wasn't, honestly, if you were expecting for the vice president to be as seen or out there more as much as Joe Biden, I think your view of how this thing works is not correct.
I'm not saying that, because I understand how politics works. However, he got elected because of Kamala. Let's just be real. He got the Black vote because of Kamala, and she's been very, because we saw Mike Pence way more than we've seen Kamala. Because remember, in the beginning, Kamala had a lot of internal issues inside of her office. Once that happened, we didn't see Kamala very much. And so I think that we need to find, okay, what's going on with that? And maybe have Kamala do a lot more speaking if you want to get Black voters, because they're really depending a lot on, let's get this Black woman on the Supreme Court that's going to get people out to vote. To be totally honest with you, I think a lot of people aren't educated enough about the Supreme Court and how important it is for that to really move a lot of Black voters.
I mean, I'm
on that way too much.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But, and I think that, to get back to the point about, what the vice president is doing, I think that, folks just has to stay informed. Now, look, I will say this, Iman, that it is very, very hard. Not very hard. I will say it's challenging to try to keep up on every piece of political news that comes out, right? It's very challenging. I mean, especially given the fact that we all have our favorite news source, Black Star Network, excuse me. But the fact remains that it's challenging. So folks will not be fully informed. Folks will not be fully engaged. Folks will not always be in the know when it comes to these things. But I think that it's that this problem that we're seeing with Democrats and women and Black women in particular, it's a what is it? Like I don't want to say it's a window dressing problem, but it's for us as Black people, I think we're all at the point of like the show me state. You got to show me before I can believe it, and I think that's part of it. I truly believe that right now the White House and this administration need to step up their communication game on their wins and their losses. Absolutely. I truly believe that. And I think that's part of why Black women and Black people are leaving this, losing faith in this administration, because we just don't know. So go ahead, Iman, what's your take?
And to add to that, as far as with, again, Kamala, I think our interest, as far as they were campaigning, we felt as though we had one of us in the office. We finally have someone who have our perspective, who will be able to understand where we're coming from and what our needs are. We bet on, you know, her being there to make the difference, or at least speak up for Black women, because during that campaign, that is what we bought into, the Chucks and the pearls, like Lee said. And to now get to this point, like I've said before, we just don't have the results. How is it going to work? And I think that's the biggest thing, besides communication, transparency. Where's your interest in me? You were interested in my issues during the campaign before you guys got there. You were interested in what we had to hear. You were doing the Dougie and whatnot on stage during the campaign when you would come visit locally. Okay, you have my attention. Again, how can you help? Lack of interest, and showing lack of interest within, you know, citizens, Black women, that's the issue. Where's the interest?
Where's the interest? That is going to be the defining question, I think, Iman and Lise, as we move forward in this this election year. Who is going to have the interest? Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. If we decide to stay away, and again, folks, I'm not saying I have the answer, but I'm just laying out what we're going to be facing. If we decide that during this election cycle we're going to abstain from voting, then we need to be prepared for what may be the consequences. That's the big thing that I get it. Trust and believe, I get it. But if we decide to abstain from voting, or if we say, you know what, I'm going to make a statement, we have to be prepared for whatever the consequences are. That if you don't vote, if I don't vote, if we don't take the time to make our vote a reality, then guess what's going to happen? We're going to get further along or further back in this year, and then come the presidential year of 24. Who knows where the country will be, right? It's like, we don't know.
Right. Everyone will be mad at the Democratic Party and go Republican.
Yeah, I mean, we really are going to have to be honest with ourselves and say, if I don't vote, these are the possible consequences. I'm not ready. I'm not sure if we're ready to have that part of the conversation yet, or if we're not having that part of the conversation enough. But I do know there are going to be some consequences, and we just got to be prepared for any scenario. And having these discussions right here will prepare some folks to think deeply and much more broadly about the situation that we're in.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am Roland with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A Black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?